Hello, thank you for joining us. Our first debate will be about the Occupy movement of the world. Martin Luther King, what do you have to say about this?
Thank you for having me. As both of y'all know, after seeing several of the videos showing students brutally beaten and maced in the face just for occupying a space in Washington, how would y'all feel if your children were spray painted in the face? Or, let me rephrase that, maced.
Well, for one thing, let me just point something out. For one thing, the police had given those children in the video that you're referencing due to the Occupy Philadelphia, they were given plenty of time to remove themselves from that area. Once you don't have a permit and your time is up, you have a certain amount of days to leave from that area before you are forcibly moved.
But why use force?
Because they did not want to peacefully, what you guys stand for supposedly, they did not want to peacefully leave. Since they decided that they wanted to remain in that area and occupy that space without a permit, then they were not allowed to stay there.
So they provided the students with bodily harm, that's what you're saying, just because they were just sitting there?
They had to, unfortunately, they knew the consequences and they were willing to do that for their rights.
Okay.
They knew what it was.
Excuse me, but say somebody had asthma and you sprayed them in their face and they had an asthma attack and they died there. That's going to be on their conscience, so why is pepper spray? Why do something
for one, it's not on my conscience. I wasn't the one that sprayed them in the face with me.
So you're basically saying, if you're the next president, you wouldn't care what goes on in the world.
Absolutely.
Just because it's yours.
Yes.
Absolutely not. First off, I believe in justice. Okay? And what are those things in justice?
Justice?
Yes, justice.
But you
and following the law. And following the law. Okay? The law said you had to remove yourself from that premises or there would be force.
Just allow the people that's around part of the law. Let them make up the laws. Only thing people do is just constantly just make up laws. They don't ask the people. The people that has to abide.
First off, you can't change government, sir. When you are in office, you cannot change what the Constitution states. The Constitution says that yes, you have the right of free speech, press, and assembly. Assembly meaning that you can occupy that area. However, to an extent, you can once.
But where in the Constitution does it say in an extent? That was something that they didn't think of back then.
First off, back then. What do you mean by back then?
The time when they was making the Constitution.
Sir, I don't even believe you know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about.
I honestly don't think that you're talking about that.
Actually, in the Constitution, it doesn't say, let me think, in the year 2012, if you're sitting in front of an occupied space, that they can use mace. It doesn't say anything about that. It does not say anything about brutality force.
It applies.
It does not say anything about bodily harm.
It's indirectly stated. The government is allowed to use force if you did not have your permit. You had to have a permit to stay there. They didn't. They were warned. And they chose to stay there.
But yet, that's not in the Constitution.
First off, in the Constitution, it says you have the right.
That's what you stated. That's what you stated. You stated about the Constitution. Therefore,
yes, I stated about the Constitution. The Constitution.
But where in the Constitution does it say that you can use bodily harm? Yes.
It says in the Constitution that you have the right to assembly. However, to an extent, you cannot just go to a place and say, "All right, we're going to have an assembly about bombing the White House." That is why it says, to an extent, in the Constitution. You cannot just do whatever you want. There are limits to your rights.
Our second debate will be about war, and war as a whole. Now, Senor Nosotros Remando, what do you have to say about this?
Talking about war, Iraq is over. We know that. However, there still is a war in Afghanistan. I believe that yes, we do have to protect our country. Serve and protect. That's what it's all about.
Hold up. See, the real thing is we went to war just for oil. See, all these kind of American soldiers is just over some oil.
I do respect that response, but there is no proof that it was over oil.
First off, absolutely not. We have terrorists in those countries that we're trying to hunt down. We got Osama, we got Saddam, we got them. However, there are still more out there.
Bin Laden's family.
First off, let me tell you something. we're not going to go into specific. We're not going to go specifically into Bin Laden.
But they murdered his family.
We're not going to go specifically.
He's a part of.
The moderator said this is about the war and what we would do. Would we stop it? Would we continue it? Would we continue the funding? Would we support it? How this is going to go down? You don't support it. Why?
Because it's a lot of people.
Because people are losing their lives?
People losing life over.
That's what everybody says. Those people who are in the army choose to sacrifice themselves. And they don't all die. They don't all die. Yes, we do have a couple of sacrifices, and I feel for all the families who have, you know, witnessed their child or a family member that has been in that. And I feel for those families. You know, they have my empathy.
What I am seeing...
However...
Peace! Excuse me. If peace was prevailed through the entire time, there would no longer be any of these groups, Al-Qaeda and all the other groups that are targeting out government officials.
You will never stop Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda...
We're talking about war. We don't have to worry about Al-Qaeda. You can stop there.
All right, well, you know, you bring it up.
I'm just saying. I brought it up. Thank you.
You bring it up. But, you know, I'm just saying specifically, the war in Afghanistan, people choose to fight it for us. They choose to show that they are, you know, they follow justice, okay? And that they are willing to fight for their country.
Thank you. You have all had a lot of great points. And good luck in your election.